You know, traditionally, right, the rabbi says a few words after the bar bat b'nai mitzvah, but I'm really tempted to just call it good right there. That was great. Kol hakavod. I'm going to adjust this slightly. I also wanted to focus on this line when I was thinking about this week's Parsha, right? Ve'asu li migdash v'shachanti b'tocham, and let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. This line is, to borrow some Gen Z speak, a banger. It's direct instructions for divinity to hang out with us. Make respites from the world, set aside holy spaces, mikdashim, and God will show up. What more could you want? This is very direct. We don't get these moments very often in Torah. But of course, as you mentioned, right, these physical spaces are now harder to come by, these physical holy spaces. And so you talked about times, holy moments, as the new sanctuary. And I want to offer a slightly different idea from Rabbi Chaim Joseph David Azulai, who's the Chida, an 18th century sort of wandering rabbi. And he said about this verse, actually, people should strive to train themselves as if they are a sanctuary and prepare themselves with great reverence to make internally all the vessels of a sanctuary so that they will be worthy for the divine presence to dwell within them. This is what the verse means, he says. Let them make me a sanctuary. He says it's each person in their own body, that I may dwell among them. He says it means to make yourselves a kind of example in the way you interact with others. This is great, right? We started out with a banger and it just gets better, right? We have divine sanctuaries and now we get to be divine sanctuaries ourselves through our deeds, the way we relate to others in the world, and we find that such actions lead to more divine moments in our lives. We have a selfish reason to do so. But wait a second. How did we lose our physical sanctuary in the first place? To make sense of this, I last night went splunking in Jeremiah, the reluctant prophet who warns us of the sanctuary's destruction. He calls out the people for failing to treat those around them as divine, as images of God. He calls out the priestly class out of the shadows. He calls out the scribes working in the holy city. He says, right? Hikshavti ve'eshma lo chen hidaberu. I have listened and heard. They do not speak honestly. None regret their own wrongdoing. None say, what have I done? They all persist in their wayward course. Jeremiah's words, I love this guy. They're an offering that thunders across the centuries. He continues, Eicha, right? How can you say, we are wise, that Torah is with us? The lying pen of the scribes has twisted things into a lie. Jeremiah is a poet, even when he doesn't want to be, and I think the juxtaposition of his words is perfect with this new idea of sanctuary. It's precisely because the people of his time refuse to treat each other as divine and cannot become sanctuaries themselves, that they lose their entire physical sanctuary. It's tragic, really. I believe we live in analogous times, but the flip side, the converse of this is quite hopeful. Hear what I'm trying to say here. Right here, in America, there are forces who may inadvertently tear down the sanctuary that earlier generations built. But look at the model we have from Torah, from Rabbi Azulai, from Jeremiah. It says we can make a real difference in this world. We can create and support sanctuaries if only we can make mikdashim of ourselves with others first. This might seem counterintuitive. I make the mistake, frankly, of following the news more closely than most. And there's a real tendency when we look around, when we see the actions of others, we get afraid, upset, even disgusted. And that tendency becomes that we adopt similar tactics. We might speak in similar ways, all in the name of resisting the thing we were opposed to in the first place. It might be a strategy of resistance, but I ask, when you really think about it, what will be left at the end? Some of you may be asking yourself, like, Michael, are you insane? You want to stand here and talk about God and sanctuaries when there's like this much chaos in the world? Can't we pick this up later? And I would say no. Parshat Truma has a roadmap to a different way. Start with yourself. Work outwards. You might just end up with divinity. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.